Darwin was something that happened in the 1920s and the 1930s to try and counter the pernicious ideologies relating to evolution. And indeed, that was prescient in a way, because the Second World War was also, the racism of the Second World War was to a large degree fostered through the ideas of Darwin and evolution being applied to the human species and to the different countries and the superiority of Europeans and white Europeans and Germans. So once you dig into a word like creationism, you, from a historical standpoint, you realize, oh, okay, you can see both sides of the argument. And that's, that's what I think can be so useful to people who are, who don't believe they're tribal because they believe that they, are purely logical. I'm a scientist, and so I think logically. I don't believe in anything that isn't sort of factual and reasonable. And you got to go, like science is replete with various beliefs, like the beliefs of modernism that we're making progress. So consilience, once you dig into it, forces one to be more humble in one's own convictions. Consilience sounds like a lovely word. It sounds like as though it's come from the Latin conciliare, which means, meeting of the mind, so to speak, agreement. It actually isn't from that root. It's from consiliens, or siliens, which is jump. It's the jumping together, the com and the jumping. Consilience sounds like a very lovely word. It really isn't. It's really a deep challenge to epistemological arrogance, if you like. So arrogance in our own beliefs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I've never used the word consilience, but the idea of building bridges into communities, you're building bridges of understanding, is what it's all about.
Absolutely. Not that many people can wade through my book. Like the people that do, they, I get so much beautiful feedback from people, but not that many people are reading nonfiction books these days, and particularly ones like that dance around and connect a lot of different subject areas. I mean, my book deals with mathematics, with physics, with genetics, with cellular biology, with sociology, with climate change, with politics, with history, with war, with religion. I go everywhere. And that's something that most people cannot handle.
Why do you say most people can't handle that?
Well, because these days we live on Netflix and social media, and anything that takes like more than 15 or maybe 30 seconds or maybe a minute to absorb is beyond most people's tolerance of boredom. So there really aren't that many people that want to dig into this. And I would say this, which is very unfortunate, the most tribal area pretty much that I can think of is academia, with its silos. And so there aren't that many academics who relish the idea of acknowledging or the utility of all the different areas.
Does the term interdisciplinary start to bridge that gap?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are movements amongst thinkers to try and weave different areas together. There's the Consilience project, and there are many online communities that have particularly gotten underway this through COVID. Rebel Wisdom and the Stoa in Toronto, and these are Intellect. These are groups of quite often young people who realize that their intellectual development isn't being catered to. And so they're finding out ways to make sense of the world, and I applaud them. But the momentum is slow.
Where does lived experience and feminism and queer theory fit into Consilience?
Aha! This is where it gets very touchy, because I realize that when one uses some of these words, they land with the different tribes in different ways. They're triggering. So I think the first acknowledgement is to realize just how triggering they are, and how they're used as weapons. They become weaponized. And I really don't want to participate in that war. I think that any time academics sort of create groups and pit one group against another and stir up animosity and hate, I have a problem with that. I think everyone needs to live their life the best way they can, and I think we need, as much as we can, to be supportive. You've got to be careful. We've all got to be careful, loving, understanding of every perspective, and we've got to guard against setting one group against another.
So what haven't we talked about that we should be talking about?
Yeah, there's no point in going into some of the deep concepts about how the world works and so on. But I think I'd like to start to summarize by saying that I think that the more that we can appreciate the different realms of human experience, the better it is for society. So we shouldn't be writing off science and scientists. We shouldn't be becoming judgmental about the wisdom of scriptural practice and religion. We should appreciate the role of social interaction. We should appreciate how important sports and making things are. We shouldn't imagine that cerebral activities are somehow different and superior to physical activities, because once you understand what's happening in the brain, speaking and making things and writing, it's using all the same hardware. So we should be deferential to different ways of understanding the world, different cultures, and we should also be more appreciative of what we can learn from history and the wisdom of our forebears, and all forebears, and also, it has to be said, the evil of our collective history, not just Westerners, but collectively, every human has evil in their past. Does that resonate at all? I know it's...
Yeah, very much so. I'm not sure about a couple of the points you raised, but I'm going to read the book and maybe we could have another conversation. Speaking about the book...
It's called How to Understand Everything, Consilience, A New Way to See the World. If anyone reads it, I'd love to hear from them, because I think it is about sparking dialogue. And as I say, one of the joys has been the people that have reached out to me with long and thoughtful emails showing that they've really gotten into the book. And one fellow from Denver, he wrote to me just a day or two back. He's on his fourth time through, which is quite something.
A nice compliment. Very nice compliment.
It does, but Don, you work in the public space and trying to raise one's profile and generate public awareness is hard. It's hard work.
So
yeah, well, I've certainly enjoyed this encounter. So I hope we can talk some more. Maybe after you've read my book, maybe you'll have some pointed queries and I hope you find some things to criticize, because I'm happy to engage in a constructive dialogue.
I'm happy to send you email. So I will contribute to the volume of email you're getting. No, I'm looking forward to it. And again, I will listen and read your book. I'm grateful for your time. It's really good to see you again. Nice to catch up.
Thank you so much, Don.
So if, like me, you're sometimes puzzled by how people behave, there's a new way to understand human beings and everything else with Tom Beakbane's newest book, How to Understand Everything, Consilience, A New Way to See the World. It's available online and at your favorite bookstore. That's another edition of the Conversation Lab. This radio program and podcast is produced by CFRO-FM in Vancouver's downtown east side. We're on the territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Our gratitude and thanks to them, as well as to the many not-for-profit organizations, community groups, and change makers around the world that support this program. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider becoming a member of Co-op Radio to support this program and the many others produced by hundreds of volunteers. If you have a story to share or know someone who does, please have them contact us at coopradio.org, theconversationlab.ca, and on many social media and podcasting platforms. This episode was cobbled together with some help from Brian McKinnon, Kimit Sekon, John Massacre, and Julian Anton. Thanks, guys, and thank you for listening. I'm Don Schaefer.